We're rolling into week 7, and it's time to look at the wide receivers on the waiver wire. We're going to be looking at waiver wire wide receivers for traditional leagues, deep leagues, guys who probably should have been picked up but are still straggling in some leagues. It's all going to be right here. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. This is the only channel going this hard on the waiver wire every single week. This is already our 3rd or 4th waiver wire video covering these players. We're going to be doing deep dives with the You Need series, covering the trending players throughout the week. And on top of that, we're going to be using videos like this to help you set your lineups. Click that button right now. Stop missing out. Ric Flair's watching. You do not want to disappoint him. But JuJu Smith-Schuster week 5 blew up and had his moment. Can you trust it? Can you trust him taking over for Rashee Rice, or at least seeing more targets? Do you believe he's going to get 5+ targets per game? He ran a lot of routes in that matchup. He looked good. The ball's got to go somewhere. It can't just all go to Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy. It's got to concentrate to some part on the field. JuJu Smith-Schuster's been in the offense. He's a veteran. He's been productive. Even when he was with the Chiefs prior, it wasn't glorious. It wasn't like a top wide receiver or anything, but it was good. It was good enough to get the job done for his role, and maybe we see some spike weeks out of him. Buyer beware, we're working off a 1-game sample, so he could go the other way, or he could go to the moon, and he could keep getting targets like this. Romeo Doubs, getting volume in the offense, getting opportunities, scoring 2 touchdowns in week 6 against the Arizona Cardinals, an 83.3% route participation rate, getting targeted on 13.3% of his routes, and an ADOT of 13.5. These are from PFF because my data came in late. That being said, we're getting deep targets, we're running a lot of routes, and the Packers run a carousel effect at the wide receiver position. Any wide receiver on any given week could get it and perform and score a lot in fantasy. They're kind of a headache. Usually you want to roll with Jaden Reed. He got hurt in this matchup, so we're watching him. But again, Romeo Doubs, all season long, at least has been running a lot of routes and getting some opportunities. Jalen Tolbert's been seeing work. It did not amount to much against the Detroit Lions. However, Brandon Cooks is on IR. He is the wide receiver 2 on the team. He was in on 98% of the routes. One of the top route participation rates of week 6. We got an ADOT of 14.8. So with a decent target share and that deep ADOT, we bring in a couple balls. It's a splash week. The week prior was a splash week. And it looks like our trend is we're up and we're down. We're up and we're down. And that makes sense considering it's the Dallas Cowboys, considering the volume in these matchups, and considering Jalen Tolbert's getting good targets downfield. Xavier Legette is running a fair amount of routes. He scored a touchdown last week. He's a good wide receiver to get off the waiver wire. First round pick with 4.3 speed, good size, adjusted athleticism. We saw a 16.8 average depth of target last week, so more routes deeper downfield. That being said, he's an upside play week to week. You never know what you're going to get out of him, but still the volume's increasing, and he could be a surprise player down the stretch. Michael Wilson is a key pickup this week. Marvin Harrison Jr. dealing with a concussion, and he's running on 94.4% of the routes. Top tier route participation rate, and he's always hovering around 80 to 85%, and 8 out of 12.5. The targets on the outside are going to go to him, and he's getting targeted well every week. I mean, week 3, 9, week 4, 7, week 5, 6, last week 4. We're getting volume week to week. DeMario Douglas might be Drake May's Josh Downs in this offense. We're running a fair amount of routes, but it's just on 66.7%. But we're getting the targets, and that's what matters. We got 9 of them last week. Short average depth of target. Like I say, when you get a short ADOT below 10, you need to rack up the targets, or you need to get into the end zone. He got into the end zone last week, and he racked up targets. You got to monitor this situation because we got a new quarterback back there, but everything's looking encouraging considering he got a 20+% target share last year. He's getting it now, and he's rocking the volume and had a 30% target share last week. Gabe Davis went off last week with 2 touchdowns. He's an up and down wide receiver. He's always been. You may not be interested, but an 8 out of 13.5. We ran around 80% of the snaps almost, and we got a good share of the air yards. The volume was there in this matchup. The game script was kind of weird like it always is against the Bears. That being said, you may want to go with him, but he's a gamble week to week. Rashod Bateman's getting some run here. We're getting a lot of opportunities in this offense. We got 4 targets and 8 targets the week prior. We ran on 93.3% of the routes, and we're getting a good 8 out of 13.5. We're getting targeted deep downfield every single week. Those opportunities, when they cash big for fantasy. But those opportunities are high acuity, so they're easy to miss. It's easy to get overthrown downfield. It's easy to not be seen downfield when you're getting rushed, you're getting hurried, and you're open deep downfield. Those are just tougher targets to convert. However, Rashod Bateman, very nuanced route runner, can set you up. Fun wide receiver here who's starting to churn out production, double-digit weeks, 3 of the last 4. That being said, pay attention to him. Jordan Whittington, 10 targets in his last game, getting volume. You want to pay attention to that. Cooper Kupp might be back this week, but we're talking about the Rams wide receivers. Tutu Atwell be sitting there on waivers. You may want to look at him because he's getting volume. He's got speed to burn, and they're using his speed in this offense. That's why he's running a lot of routes. He's seeing a lot of opportunity. Demarcus Robinson seeing opportunity downfield. He's got the average depth of target to prove that. He's getting those deeper targets. He's running a lot of volume, almost 100% of the routes. You may want to look at him, but buyer beware. Cooper Kupp might be back, but Noah Brown this week saw some opportunity with 8 targets, catching 4 balls for 58 yards. You may want to chase that. You may not. We do have Carolina coming up. You may want to think about that for DFS, or if you want to be contrarian, or if you're in a deeper 16-team league. And 8 out of 12, so the targets are deep. We're running on 62.8% of the routes out there, and we're getting targeted on almost 30% of his routes, which is solid for him. That being said, you may want to pay attention to him, but Vele is back. He is back. He was injured prior, but we're running on 70.7% of the snaps. We're getting an 8 out of 13.8, where prior his 8 out was closer to the line of scrimmage, if you remember that, to the start of the season. 6 targets, 4 catches, 78 yards. Vele's got some upside. He might be a sneaky pickup for the rest of the season. Troy Franklin, because they may want to get some run with this rookie. He is trending, and he's starting to get more work by the week. Ran on 65% of the snaps, 68.3% route participation rate, ran 28 routes, saw just 3 targets. But again, we already have the report of Bo Nix. If he's out there, he's going to get that work. We've seen that in some instances where he only ran a few snaps and a few routes, but racked up a fair amount of targets for that. And the 8-outs at 16, deep targets downfield. You got to look out for deeper leagues. Bud Meads might be seeing some opportunity here with Rashid Shaheed banged up. He might be out for a while. We're still watching news on that. Probably by the time this video posts, you'll know about it. But we ran on 71% of the snaps, ran on 70.8% of the routes. We also seen an 8 out of 9. We saw some good volume of 8 targets. Spencer Rattler is out there, but the fact that the rookie quarterback can look his way means Carr can look his way. But if you're out there, you're running a lot of routes, seeing opportunities, and an offense that likes to get vertical, that's always something to look at. Josh Downs should be picked up. He should not be here, but I'm seeing trends of him not being rostered in some leagues. And I get it's the Colts, I get it's the quarterback situation, but he has been lights out. Seeing a 31.2% target share, racking up the targets every single week, in on 80% of the routes. He's getting a lot of volume, a lot of short distance targets, but the volume's so high it doesn't matter. Christian Watson's back from injury. We're running on 72.2% of the routes. We ran on 60% of the snaps. That being said, he is getting volume. He's getting targets deep downfield with an 18.2 average depth of target. He caught 3 balls for 68 yards and a touchdown. Watson has that upside from week to week. Remember, like I say about the Packers every week, it's a carousel effect. Any wide receiver on the offense can get it. They're all good, and they all get the opportunities. Alan Lazard last night went off with 24.9 fantasy points, catching 6 balls for 114 yards and a touchdown. He shouldn't be on waivers, but he is on waivers in a lot of leagues. If he's sitting there, could be a good pickup, but Davante Adams just got traded to the Jets. So his time as being a guy sniffing out some targets week to week, sniffing out some fantasy production, is probably going to come to the end sooner than later. Alec Pierce is a deep threat who runs a lot of routes and gets opportunities and cashes in here and there. He's a play that you put in your lineup and pray that he hits. He had a 25.2 average depth of target last week. That's on 4 targets, not 1, and we ran on 90% of snaps almost. That being said, he's a guy that either scores up to here or scores down here. You either love it or you hate it. Ray McCloud's getting targets every week. Last week, just 4. Week prior, 9. Week before that, 7. We're getting opportunities. We ran on 96.7% of the routes, so he was out there. Also, he's getting his targets close to the line of scrimmage, so he needs to rack up targets and catches for him to be valuable in fantasy football or cross the goal line. But Kayshon Boutte is a wide receiver to pay attention to. Ran on 76.2% of the routes. We ran 32 routes and 8 out of 19.3, so he's pushing it downfield. At one time, he was one of the top wide receivers in college football. He was projected to be a first-round pick before the ankle injury. He's getting targeted by Drake May. He's getting opportunities. Caught 3 balls for 59 yards and a touchdown. A wide receiver to watch. In deeper leagues, you better snag him and hold just in case. Trey Tucker is going to get volume. Remember, this was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we said he had a couple rough matchups coming up during that You Need video. We said that, and it could be rough. But we're also running on 95.1% of the snaps. Jacoby Myers was out, but he's still going to run a lot of routes anyways. He's still going to get it. His ADOT was at 20. He was getting deep balls. The thing about Trey Tucker, he's going to get volume. He's going to get work. He's going to run a lot of routes for the rest of the season. Melton, the wide receiver carousel of the Packers. That's it. That's it. 2 targets in this matchup. He can get it on any given Sunday. He's got that upside. Mack Hollins is a surprise wide receiver you may want to look at in 16-team leagues or more because he's starting to get targets. He's starting to see more snaps. He scored a touchdown last night, but we talked about him last week in the waiver wire video because he's seeing a good target share. He's seeing a good ADOT, and with Khalil Shakir back, he's still seeing deeper targets downfield, still scored a touchdown, and in deeper leagues where the waiver wire is decimated and dry, you might have to look his way, and in softer matchups, he might bring in some deep targets because they're pushing him downfield. Could be a sneaky play down the stretch of the season, but those are the wide receivers for this week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.